Welcome back to Get Real America. Honor and a pleasure to have Savannah attorney, retired attorney Bubba Haupt with us this morning, and he has just come out with a book called Mob Island. And Bubba, congratulations on this, and I hope it's going to be an international bestseller. Did you ever fear, since there was a mob connection there, even though Lou wasn't part of it, and you became good friends, did you ever fear for your own life
There
that you
were
might be a
two
hit?
attempts on my life. I went to a national convention of the JCs. I was a national director. I had an airplane,
Hmm.
a twin engine air commander, and me
Nice
and a
plane.
couple of JCs flew to Chicago for the convention. And the day before I was to leave, I got a call from Louie the Tailor, and he said, I got a friend that I'm going to play golf with. I want you to bring him back with you if it's okay. And I said, sure. And he told me what time he would be at O'Hare to get on board with my plane. Then Lou says, but before you leave, make sure you call me. I said, sure. So the next day, we were to leave. I called Lou. He said, let me talk to the private plane director. Had the plane tested for sugar in the gas tanks. They did the test and it was loaded. Had we taken off, we would have not gone 3 or 4 miles and it would have gone down. So anyway, they had to drain my engines and gas tanks and everything. That was one attempt. Second attempt came, I had represented a fella out of Charlotte who I was asked to defend on multi-million dollar counterfeit schemes out of Columbia and Myrtle Beach. I won the case except for one count, and he got 6 months to prison, federal. He skipped bond, so they dismissed his appeal. Now I got a call about 6 months later, and it was this fella. And I said, David, you need to turn yourself in so I can finish the appeal. He said, no, you're going to finish the appeal without me coming in. I said, no, I'm not. He said, well, look out your window and you're going to see the DeSoto Hotel. I'm over here. He identified what I was wearing, and my daughter was spending the weekend over at Bluffton with some schoolmates, and he told me where she was and that he would kidnap her. And I said, no. I hung up on him. I called Lou and I told him what just happened. And he sent a couple of automobiles to Bluffton. And I said, I didn't want my daughter to know that she's in danger. And please don't let her know that somebody's protecting her. And also that applied to my wife. He sent them over and it took about 2 months. During the meantime, he had tried to enter my office before I left to go to Bluffton, but that was two of them. I knew what it was to be threatened
Hmm.
because when you represented all these crazy cases, I had death threats all the time, but I couldn't let it
Yeah.
bother me. When I see most people threatened back then, and that was just a threat. My airplane eventually went down, incidentally. It crashed out at Travis Field, and I wasn't in the plane, but I don't fly. And so my Chris flies,
Hmm.
and my oldest son flies, but I don't. I drive.
I can I can understand that. Um, Bubba,
Yeah.
what you started something? Did you go to prison
Oh yes. Not
for what?
nothing related to this other than it was payback. Had a couple of restaurants and I sold them. I violated. They said I violated the Securities Act. I didn't give all of the information. It was a
Mhm.
stock sale. But anyway, I went to prison for that. That was just their way of paying me back.
Mhm.
I didn't get along with the DA's office after.
No,
Now, I did get along with the Bubsy Ryan, who was a good friend of mine.
right.
And me and him fought. We fought each other in the court. We were good friends later.
Hmm.
So,
When you went to prison, obviously you met people, and they say everybody says they're innocent. but you started a crusade to get people out of jail that you knew were innocent or could prove it.
Yes.
And it is documented in your book. How did that come about? When did you decide, hey, I got to get these people out of here?
Uh, when I went in, the biggest thing I saw was that there were people, and mainly men, who never got visits. The family couldn't afford to drive wherever they were at.
Right.
And I started a ministry of under the least of mine, and on Saturdays and Sundays, taking families to prison. But I also knew of men that were not guilty, and I started petitioning the parole board. I spent on Matthew as an example. I went to Reedsville to speak to the inmates that were allowed to go to church.
Mm-hmm.
This was like 10 years after Matthews was convicted and put in prison. He was at Reedsville. Toward the beginning of my testimony to these men, I saw a man enter from the rear, and I recognized him. It looked like Matthew Washington. He came walking straight down toward me, got up on the stage, and he shook my hand and hugged me. And he said, "God bless you, Mr. Hope. I know I have a friend in you." That relationship began to be personal with me. I would take his mother to go see him. I could get in. I was allowed. And I was known as the pastor during that time in prison at Reedsville. It became a part of my life. There's another pastor in Savannah, Bobby Gale.
Mm-hmm.
He has under the least of his. And I owe Matthew Washington not only the brothers, but he was wrongfully dealt with by Savannah, by the state of Georgia. It changed my life. Back then, you think you're important when you know Dean Martin or Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, right.
And I played golf with them. And I was there when they argued with each other. I was there when they had too much to drink and started talking too much. And that's when I knew I had to leave, and because I didn't want to hear all of it. The book goes into details. I'm just happy that I'm alive and able to talk about it.
Well, we are too. I mean, it's very eye opening, and like I said, I've gotten a lot of exercise from jaw dropping the last 24 hours with it as well. And you said finally that it finally got to you. I mean, it had to sooner or later of just having to had to defend
Yes,
a lot of people who really should have gotten 30 days in the electric chair.
that's right. And I knew when it was over.
Hmm.
Because see, out at Savannah Inn, they were telling on each other.
Yeah.
And Lou, who was my friend for about 12 years, one day he was gone. He never said goodbye.
Hmm.
He was gone. The guys that I knew there, they were gone. And if you look at the end of the book, it said, I realized that everyone had left. And what was more significant to me was when I first started in this practice and representing the individuals, we would go to the park, Forsyth Park. Everybody went to Forsyth Park to
Yeah.
feed the pigeons. On Sunday, that's where you strolled the new baby. That's where you took your Easter pictures.
Hmm.
And you fed the pigeons and the squirrels. I realized I was sitting there at the end that the pigeons had left. And nobody realized that. The pigeons left Forsyth Park at that time. I left. And I knew it was over. My life had to change. But I wanted everybody to know,
Hmm.
and in the book I detailed why I know, how the plane landed and what the package was. I know this from listening. I was not there at the time, but I knew something had happened because one of the golf holes was completely done over in one night. And then I started inquiring about it. I want the Hoffa family to have their leader back home. I never met Hoffa. I met people who were close to Hoffa, and I met enemies of Hoffa, but I never met him. I want that put to rest too. And
Yes.
the FBI knows about it. They 2 years ago, I took them to the spot. Fox News, they did a feature on it. Now that they've run out of places where he could be, the last place is down in Savannah, and he's there.
I'll be darned.
My fa- and my family survived.
Yeah, that's good news